Happy Wednesday!
Dear goodness. Welcome back to another episode of Wind Down Wednesday. I'm Sam.
I'm Heather.
And today, we like to always do on our Wind Down Wednesdays, we are going to give you a topic to kind of chat about, wind down with your friends, family, coworkers, whatever it is. Cat. And we are going to talk about a wine while we do it. So today we have one that, this is actually
A
Heather's
recommendation
pick, so I'll let you talk about it.
Arrow. So in our upcoming trip to New Zealand, I don't know if we've told them yet.
I don't think so.
Well, it's happening. We're going to be going to New Zealand and exploring wine country. We were at a local wine store. It's a chain called Arrow, and I was in their New Zealand section, and one of the employees asked, if I was looking for anything specific, and I said, I'm interested right now in a white wine that would be from New Zealand. This one is specifically from one of their, I believe, the Southern Island wine regions, the Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc. In New Zealand, Sauvignon Blancs are known for being really good and popular. I'm not 100% sure which flavor notes are fully there. I think they still will have the grassy notes, but I think there's also other fruits with them.
One, I think New Zealand is known for actually being super grassy.
Yeah.
That's one of the big things. And two, I'm pretty sure Marlborough's North Island.
Is it?
So you're correct. But it is, so it's the northern part of the South Island. And yeah, I think New Zealand is typically that funkier style. It's very bold. There's a lot going on, but we will get to that. Today we are going to be talking about what to do when you are getting underestimated or overlooked. Because I feel like this is something that happens a lot in our industry, just being in whiskey and wine industry, again, and then being young, but then also just being a young professional. So you're working in healthcare,
yes.
And no offense to you, I mean, this is an absolute compliment. You look very young.
I know. I've actually had patients refuse care from me because I was, quote unquote, too young to know anything.
Insane.
So it is something that you do experience when you are, starting a career in many different industries. And I think on top of that, being a woman and being young in an industry can also sometimes present its own challenges in terms of what people may just automatically perceive that you would know. And people put a lot of life experience into that. And again, just because you're young, you can still have life experiences that make you good at your job. I think ultimately it's just kind of finding those situations where you are confident in what you know, and then people start to trust you as an individual. But there's a lot.
I feel like
more
getting to that point there is
Yeah.
so hard. So for me, I feel like doing whiskey and wine, I'll walk into it like a distillery and I never flex. Oh yeah, I do whiskey and wine education. It's always just to walk in, start talking, be I'll ask questions. And then they'll realize, oh, you're asking some really nerdy questions. And they'll usually stop and go,
what do you do?
Yeah, they're what do you do? Have you, you seem to be pretty knowledgeable about this. And they'll ask some follow-up questions. And then I'll go, oh, I'm sorry. I do whiskey and wine education as well. But they're oh, okay, cool. Or oh, you probably know more than I do. And there's that moment that's this person actually knows what they're talking about. But getting to that point is very difficult, I feel like. And again, for me, it's once I start talking, people will start to listen. But getting to that point of getting people to actually listen to me is really hard, especially if we're in a group and say we're at a whiskey bar and I try something and I'm talking with someone and something said that maybe it's not incorrect, but because I try not to correct people, especially if we're at a bar.
Kind of annoying.
Yeah, no one wants to be that guy. But say they ask a question, I'm like, oh, it's blank. And then they're oh, are you sure? Blah, 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 blah. And it takes a minute. And it's just yep, okay, I got to re-explain this every single time that I know what I'm talking about. And one thing I'm working on right now is actually getting more certifications behind me so that I can go, yes, I know what I'm talking about. Here's all the proof. So that's going to be nice once we get there. But for you, you have all of these certifications. You are a PharmD and you've gone through residency.
Yep.
And yet people continue to question and underestimate like your ability.
Mhm.
So I guess how do you also handle that from maybe a provider standpoint, or if you ever have to deal with that?
I think one thing that I did that really helped me kind of become more confident in myself, because ultimately, like, if you are doubting yourself, I think that's something that other people can perceive from you,
Mm,
especially when you're working in a team that's like multidisciplinary. Not everyone necessarily has the same education or the same background or degrees in the room. If you are doubting what you know, or you are doubting what you bring to the table, I think people pick up on that, and then they also would start to doubt you. Again, anytime someone's new brought in, you can expect maybe some level of skepticism. I've always personally experienced that when I've started in new positions. One things that I did was while I was in school, I would go to classes that would address things such as, or I guess not really classes, but more so like seminars or things that were offered through the school that would address imposter syndrome. So realizing that this is something that a lot of us feel. It's normal when you're starting your career to, have initially some of those thoughts of like, oh my gosh, people have been in this field for, longer than I've been alive. Like, what is it that I could really bring? And some of those thoughts, and realizing, everyone's having that, but like taking the next step of being like, no, but like, I know what I know. Like, I'm confident in my skills. I am, I've proven through, multiple certifications and testing and training that I am able to do this. And going from there, again, that can be a long journey for people. But ultimately, I think it's kind of that moment of being like, hey, we want this. And I can be like, I see, like, I understand why you're asking for that, but what about this alternative option? And kind of presenting and understanding, like, hey, that request, I can understand why that request could be something you want. But actually, I would recommend this other option because of this. And I think sometimes when you have those moments of where you can, come back with another question and come back with a conversation, is when people then start to build that trust in you as an individual.
I feel like that's a really good point of being able to come back with questions. Like when
Mhm.
someone's like, hey, this, and you go, mm, hang on, why? But also, here's some further information.
Mhm.
When you're able to do that, it's like this person will go, okay, you actually know what you're talking about. It's not just, no, we're not going to do that. Okay, why not? Like, you just,
Yeah. I think
what's going
sometimes if
on?
you come off as cocky, like that also can be really dangerous.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm confident in what I know, but maybe there's something in the picture that I'm not aware of for this patient or for this clinical situation. You know, Everybody kind of works up patients differently. Everybody, pays attention to different details when assessing the situation. So it's always, never shutting them down, never making somebody else feel like they're not intelligent. It's
Mhm.
always being like, trying to add and like build this explanation and conversation with people in the room.
Right. So looking at like the whiskey and wine industry, I feel like I've been listening to a ton of podcasts and have been watching a lot of seminars of a lot of female either master distillers or female blenders. And one of the things I always notice is that again they're always underestimated right off the bat, and it's super interesting to watch how they overcome that and are now at the point where they are top of their industry. I mean, unfortunately, this is just the world we live in. It's very annoying that women usually get underestimated a lot in
Hmm.
professional spaces. The probably best master blender in the world right now is female, Nancy Fraley. Like, she
Hmm.
is insane with what she does. But it's also just like when it comes to blending and tasting and smelling, women are able to pick up on a lot more things than guys are. So it makes me
Hmm.
laugh that guys are like, oh, women don't know what flavors they're talking about or don't know about. Like, brother, what?
It's like, that's not a reason why somebody wouldn't know.
Yeah. It's like, it's absolutely insane to me. But backing up and going back to your point of asking questions and not being cocky about it, not
Hmm.
just being like, no, this is the right answer, which I do think there is a point where you have to do
Hmm.
that, especially in your case where it's like, no, this isn't safe
Yeah, yeah.
or
Again,
something like that.
within my professional career, if I ever feel like a decision would be unsafe for a patient,
Right.
that's where I'm like, we really need to talk about this, because like I don't think it's safe, you know? So, but again, it's always still making it part of a conversation.
Yes.
You know, you can communicate like, hey, I would strongly disagree with this because X, Y, and Z. But,
and like for me, every now and then there will be someone, usually it's like, again, just like during like a whiskey tasting event or something, or wine tasting event, and someone will go, oh, blank. And it's like, actually, this is going to be what you're actually looking for. Here's the truth. Here's some sources, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, no, I don't know if that's actually true. And if it's, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Educationally disadvantaging someone to not correct that, I'll go, no, this is actually what it is. I understand that you might have learned that, but that's not true. And I'd be doing you a disservice not to point that out. Again, I'm not going to do that at a bar. I'm not going to do that on a tour. Only time I'm going to do that is when I'm running a tasting or an educational event. And my job is to actually educate everyone. And again,
I think that's a good point of like, just being aware of your surroundings. What is your role in that situation? You know, and again, if you can always bring up, well, oh, actually, like it's this. And if they want to engage in that conversation, like that's on them and that's their choice and how they want to respond to you bringing in that new information. If people just want to move on, continue with the conversation, change topics, that's fine too. It's fine. You know, we're not trying to.
It is what it is at the end of the day.
Like,
but I think
to have a good time.
One of the best things you can do is what you mentioned of just like asking questions and not being cocky about it and presenting things back to them to show that you do know what you're talking about. But if you are in a position where you are the educator, you are the subject matter expert, and it is your job to make that final decision and do that final part of education, that's when you can put that hard stop on something. Cool. Let's dive into this. So again, this is Frenzy coming out of Marlborough, New Zealand. Exact spot was Mount Richmond Estate. Let's dive in. Okay.
So clearly, I don't know if you guys can tell, but this was one that was open before. Yes. And I liked it so much that I was like, we have to bring it on the video. So when I first opened this one, again, it's a screw top, which I actually like to point out does not mean anything about quality, especially when the product is from New Zealand. They just tend to utilize screw tops because cork isn't a resource that they utilize as commonly. But anyways, when I opened it, before I even poured it, I was initially just hit by a really strong, aromatic, fruity. So I was like, whoa, I don't know if I've ever had that experience from just opening a Sauvignon Blanc. I know there's some Sauvignon Blancs I've had, especially, I feel like oftentimes at the restaurant when I just order whatever, house Sauvignon Blancs. I don't know where it's from. But you're searching for the flavors, they're not just there. But this one, it's I opened it and I was like, wow.
This was
this bursting. Is bold. In a really elegant, floral kind of way.
Just ton of flowers. The bouquet on this is absolutely gorgeous. It is very minerally almost on the nose. It's not very this is super, I guess to me, it's not extremely fruity on the nose.
Oh, that's fair. Maybe
it's more floral.
In the palate, it's probably more floral on the nose than
it's a ton of floral.
Some of the fruits.
But it's that almost citrusy note as well. Almost like a lemongrass. I do get the grassiness, but it's not.
It's not the part that hits you on the nose. I think that comes through more so on the palate. I also feel as it warms up, the flavor profile becomes more grassy compared to when it's chilled.
Which is what I was trying to figure out when you guys saw me.
Yeah, you're like, why is he holding the glass like that?
Yes, I was trying to warm it up so that I could really get into it. Because it was a little muted right away. It was a little cold. But if we could have just warmed up the temperature just a little bit, I think that was a perfect spot for it. But then where it's at now, it's at the point where it's very grassy. Still classic Sauvignon Blanc flavors, but you're also getting a lot of this lime zest on the palate.
It's very lime.
Which is really cool.
Unique.
I would love to pair this with ceviche.
This with ceviche would just be the most beautiful thing.
Yeah. We're going to have to go get another bottle of that and do that at some point. Because that would be absolutely solid. Or fish tacos. something like that.
Yes.
Anything that you're going to put lime on, this is going to
This would just,
absolutely burst with it.
pair. It would be like a very complementary pairing.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes when I'm pairing, I want contrasting flavors.
We do a lot of contrast, actually.
I know,
We do.
which I feel like, yeah, we do tend to lean towards the contrasting flavors. But this one, a complementary flavor with any dish that has lime in it would just be gorgeous.
But that is that. This is delicious. If you're ever getting underestimated,
Know your worth.
yeah. If you can prove it, prove it. But also, if you're in a spot where you don't have to, just move on
Then
and
it's
accept
okay.
that some people suck.
Yep.
It is what it is. Go pour yourself a glass of wine, and we will see you guys on Friday. Cheers.
Cheers.